If this were a movie and not a TED Talk, the camera would be panning across the Boston skyline, gradually zooming in on a large brick school building in Dorchester. The shot takes you through the window to a group of AmeriCorps teaching fellows trying to plan a college visit to Tufts University for a group of 8th graders. What would make it memorable? They decide they'll take the students on an urban foraging hike, where they sample wild edibles like chickweed and juniper berries. Maybe it was on this excursion that I led 12 years ago that the idea first started to grow and take root. It's that concept that the connection between plants and what we eat and how we care for the planet is key. And these connections can be cultivated anywhere, on a cold New England campus in late fall, on a drought-stricken farm in southern Spain, or a 3-acre vegetable farm in Sebastopol, California. I want to tell you how that spark of connection grew roots and transformed into the work that I do today. It's a story of learning and working on regenerative farms, about the 5 principles of soil health, and about agroecology, agriculture that works with nature rather than against it. Specifically, how soil health and agroecology might hold the keys to mitigating climate change and restoring our own human health at the same time. It starts with my own awareness of the power that these principles of soil health hold, and a collective journey towards reconnecting parts of our food system that have become disconnected. To do this reconnection work, it starts with spending time on a farm. Direct experience is essential for food systems transformation. My journey begins not on a farm, as this picture would suggest, but I was a child of the suburbs and went to college outside of Boston. And right after college, I taught 8th grade with the Citizen Schools program. To channel my students' energies and take them outside the 4 walls of the classroom, I started a school garden project with them. No student refused to eat tomatoes that they had grown in the garden. Everyone ate vegetables that they had seen sprout from the ground. I showed my students the documentary Food, Inc., and several of them became overnight vegetarians, trying to eat a plant-based diet, but then couldn't really eat most school cafeteria food. I wondered how to work further upstream to allow my students to eat in line with their values. I marveled at the power of experiential learning, especially when physical and emotional needs are met. My journey then took me from Boston out to California, where I started graduate school and spent the summers between semesters working on vegetable farms in the Pacific Northwest. Farming, putting my hands in the soil, changed me. Coming into contact with healthy soil changes all of us. It's not just that it releases serotonin, it's that reminder across time that the human-soil connection is key to our own thriving as a species, our survival, and our longevity. I now live on a farm in Sonoma County, and I recently launched a program called the Climate Farm School, aimed at reconnecting people to land, to nature, and to food production systems. We host the program here, as well as a constellation of farms in the United States and Europe that are farming in alignment with natural cycles. Regenerative farming represents a 4 gigaton carbon removal opportunity, on par with the annual emissions from all the cars and vans in the world. These farms, where we're hosting the program, are lighthouses shining a light on what is possible. Every course, on the first day, we host a soil health workshop led by local soil scientists, where we learn the 5 principles of soil health and how they help us to heal soils that have been degraded. The principles are, number 1, keep the soil covered. This means no bare ground, which is vulnerable to erosion from wind and rain and heat damage. This one sounds relatively simple and straightforward, and it is. And yet, bare ground following tillage events is an all too common sight in large-scale agriculture. Mulching and planting into an old crop can solve this. The second principle is minimize disturbance from mechanical disturbance from tillage or chemical disturbance from synthetic pesticides and herbicides and fertilizers applied to the fields. The good news is tillage is going way down in an effort to prevent soil erosion. We just need chemical applications to go down with it. The third principle is maximize diversity. Life above ground is mirrored by life below ground. So every time we add diversity to our fields, we're feeding and building relationships with the essential life in the soil that we cannot see. The fourth principle is maintain living roots. This is also a simple and elegant one. Keep plant roots in the ground as often as possible. That's best accomplished with perennials like trees and shrubs, but can be accomplished with annuals when we cut out an old plant after harvest, leaving the root system intact, and pretty immediately plant a new young plant into the ground with a growing root system. This one feels especially metaphorical to me, a reminder to maintain living roots in our communities, in our values, and in building a subterranean network of relationships that will allow for above-ground flourishing when conditions are right. Finally, integrate animals. This principle reminds us of the fundamental interconnection between plant and animals. Yet, it is often the hardest principle to achieve in practice because most agriculture today has separated plants and animals and raises either one or the other. Bringing the plant and animal kingdoms back together is crucial, including livestock, wild animals, insects, and pollinators. Each course, we also invite students to submit an assignment called The Future of Food in 2040, imagining a climate-resilient, equitable food system of the future. Reading these assignments is a wellspring of hope and inspiration that is much needed as we live through the climate crisis. Our current industrial food system contributes upwards of a third of total greenhouse gas emissions while wreaking havoc on human health at the same time. It doesn't have to be this way, and this assignment is a way of bringing us closer to another world being possible. I would like to submit my own version of this assignment today and walk us through what the world might look like in 5, 10, 15 years if we embrace and apply these principles on a large scale. Vision for 2030. Soils around the world are managed with mulches and plants, and bare ground is rarely seen anymore. In California, thanks to new state policies and incentive structures, almond orchards have gone way down in acreage, and those that remain are planted with grassy cover crop strips that are grazed by sheep between the rows of trees. Land that was once orchards has diversified, rewilded. Soil erosion is down 60% worldwide, and soil organic matter has risen 0.6% on average, exceeding the Paris Agreement target set in 2015. Vision for 2035. In the American Midwest, farmers and agronomists have successfully collaborated to minimize tillage, eliminate herbicide use, while still managing weed pressure around growing crops. They did this with the help of technology, both hardware and software, dreamed up collaboratively at the annual Gathering for Open Agricultural Technology, and through diversification. Diversified crop rotations successfully broke up the pest and disease pressures built up over decades of simple corn-soy rotations. Vision for 2040. Once desertified areas like the southern Spain Altiplano are now green again, planted with native trees and shrubs among the intercropped olive, almond, vineyard, and grain plantings that are grazed by a mix of grazing animals. The local water cycle, once broken, has returned thanks to the evapotranspiration from these perennial plants. So it now rains again regularly in the winters. If we follow these principles, and if this vision comes to pass, the resulting benefits will include soil carbon levels rising as we draw down excess atmospheric carbon. There will still be droughts and flooding events, but they will be less catastrophic than 15 or 20 years ago. Simple soil management practices in Sonoma County have already had an outsized impact in mitigating the damages from devastating downpours. These planetary impacts are the resultant ripple effect of many communities in many places coming together again around food. This creates a culture of generosity, a shift of hearts and minds towards an abundance mindset. Farmers are central figures in their communities, whether urban or rural, and they are teamed up with teachers and doctors to weave in local food production to schools and healthcare institutions. Globally, populations are healthier because the plant-based foods that they're eating are rebalanced with nutrients from a healthy soil, and because of the human nature connections that people experience on a more regular basis. This vision of the future was easy for me to imagine because actually I see signs of it emerging already all around me. From the farmers I live and work with, to the farm school participants who have taken up the challenge and figured out strategies for applying these knowledge sets to their chosen fields and building an ecosystem of support around farmers. A pediatrician who is now working with us to enable more healthcare professionals to come to farm-based sustainable food systems education as part of their medical training. A data analyst who won a small farm tech expo competition, designing appropriate technology with and for small-scale farmers. And 2 women who quit their jobs and teamed up to start an organic pasta company in Brooklyn. Incremental changes compound and become exponential. So it's time to spend some time on a regenerative farm, an agro-ecosystem. We learn best by doing, whether kids or adults, by engaging all 5 of our senses. So if you leave today being able to repeat these 5 soil health principles, amazing. But really my goal is much simpler. I want you to go outside and put your hands in soil and see what you find. Play in the dirt. Look for color, smell, life forms, living roots, and feel if there's any moisture present. Yep, there's some living things in here. This is a healthy community garden soil from Somerville, Massachusetts. While you are playing in the dirt, I want you to know that you're doing much more than playing in the dirt. You are holding in a handful of healthy soil more living organisms than there are people on the planet. You are touching infinite life. What more abundance can we ask for? Thank you.